My name is Chad, my son's name is Steven, and we're going to do a RCI skid plate install on a TRD Pro model year 2023 Tundra. The install of anything to upgrade your vehicle can be fraught with unexpected findings, mistakes, learnings, and delays. Like the previous 2013 Tundra Steven and I made upgrades on, this project had some learnings. Watch the rest of the video with chapter links below to see how we did it, what we learned, how long it took, and how much the upgrade cost overall. And last, what questions do I still have after the project is completed? Hopefully this helps you plan and prepare for your skid plate upgrade.
Before we get into the install, we wanted to show an unboxing to see how it was packaged and how the parts came. There are two options when ordering these parts. You have the bare metal and the black coating. We ended up going with the black coating because I personally think it's gives the truck a cleaner look and matches well with the white, but those are totally personal preference. The other choice you'll be faced with is the material on your skid plate, aluminum or steel. We went with aluminum because it's a little bit lighter, but if you choose steel, you'll have a little bit heftier or more durable plates. As we were unboxing, we found out that neither of the parts came with instructions to assemble them, so we went online and ended up printing off all the instructions to install.
Not only did we have our first lesson learned in the unboxing with the instructions, we also had our first safety incident.
Let's see. How many seconds did we start before that happened?
Probably 30 seconds in.
Nice. Good
Let's
work.
go.
Alright, so now we're going to jump into the stock skid plate for TRD. Before we assemble our aftermarket skid plates, we got to uninstall the TRD stock one. It's just a few bolts, few unscrew. It's very basic. Not much going on here. The front two screws, you just need to loosen up a little bit because then they will be able to slide out, but the back two screws, you want to take those completely out, but be careful because when you do that, the skid plate will fall on you, so it helps having a second pair of hands to hold that up while you slide it forwards.
We didn't get video of putting the plate down as I needed to keep the plate from hitting Steven in the face. Here is the video of the underbody without the OEM TRD skid plate. We put the steel screws back onto the same holes that they came from to help us keep our bearings on where the new plates will align, as the RCI plates will use the same holes. The front skid came in two pieces that needed assembly. This was pretty basic. Make sure the parts are flipped to the correct side, so pay attention to the images in the instructions or this video for orientation help. Note also that we used anti-seize for every bolt installed on the undercarriage, including the bolts connecting the plate parts shown here. Pre-research I did strongly recommended this to prevent corrosion and making it easier to take them off in the future. I'll do a link in the comments below for a video that was really helpful in understanding anti-seize and its uses. Also of importance when using anti-seize is to reduce the recommended torque setting by about 20%. The cat converter shields needed connecting to the transmission skid plate. The cat shields don't connect to the frame, only the rear skid plate. This is also straightforward, and we used anti-seize there too. We were careful overall not to get the anti-seize on stuff other than where it was intended and wipe the excess, as it was very difficult to get off. If I was smart, I would have swept the floors before starting the project, but no, that didn't happen. And our backs got pretty dirty, as you can see here. The height of the truck is enough to get under it and do the install without a jack or jack stands. I have not lifted or upgraded to larger tires than the 33s on the Pro yet. That'll be for a future video. Keeping it low enough to the ground also allowed us to use a random 2x4 contraption that was around for other purposes to hold up one side of the rear skid plate while we fit and positioned and secured it to the frame. Note that you will want to start installing the rear skid plate before the front skid plate, because the rear skid plate needs to be on top of the front as an overlap point to allow for the vehicle to move forward without creating a catch point for the ground and the smoother transition. Of note is the layout in order of the rear plate and rear bolts. We got stuck for a second there as the images in the instructions were not clear as to the ordering of the bolt, washers, the nut, and the frame crossmember. We figured it out. I enhanced the image in the instructions and showed how and where the vehicle frame crossmember should be relative to the other bolt components. In terms of prioritizing various upgrades to the truck, I wanted to prioritize getting the cat shields on there, given the crime situation here in Colorado. I've heard so many stories of cat converter thefts, and the Tundras have 4, making them ripe for bad actors. For safety, we just kept the parking brake set, and it was on level ground in the garage to prevent any risk of it rolling while we were working on it. We didn't use any wheel chocks, but probably should have as a general good habit to build anyways. We both did survive to make the video. Next is the front plate install. We kept the bolts on the rear loose and not fully tight to allow for fitment and adjustment. We again are using the 2x4 contraption helper to hold the rear half up while we affix the front half. You can use anything, a jack, a bucket, anything that can help hold the other side without putting too much difference in distance between where it will be secured. One trick we learned from the front 2 bolts was that each needed a small spacer, which came with the kit, but it needed to be secured between the frame crossmember and the skid plate. The spacer needs to be installed on both sides before you can install one of the bolts. This takes a bit of trial and error to get there, but you'll eventually get there. We do want to give a shout out to RCI as a vendor for why we chose them. There were a number of reasons for this selection. First and foremost, they're local here to Northern Colorado, and so it saved in shipping costs and it makes it easy for visits. They also have a really friendly and expert staff. During the initial call, when I had some questions, they actually were really helpful in answering that and provided some good advice. The material availability for the aluminum, they had that. Not all vendors have that. In addition, not all vendors have the hybrid Tundra fit for the rear skid plate. And you have to be careful when you're looking at other vendors to make sure if you do have the hybrid that they have the fitment for that. They also had the cat converter. Not all vendors have a cat converter that pairs with the rear skid plate. The lead times for parts from them was also very short at the time of purchase. And then also in researching other vendors, another well-known top vendor, and I talked to them as well, they actually gave incorrect information over the phone and also in their email support when I followed up with them.
Here I got some dirt in my eye, so I guess that's a lesson learned. Make sure you're wearing some eye protection because it's unpleasant.
This video is not sponsored by anyone, not Toyota or RCI. All the components I purchased myself and not as a trade deal or anything else. So the experience and the feedback given here is legit. Wanted to go and answer some questions that we posed at the start. What we learned throughout this process has been baked into the videos, and also after this point there's a few more, so stay tuned for that. I paid $967.06 for both aluminum skid plates and the coating and the steel cat shields that they didn't come. The cat shields did not come in aluminum. I took advantage of the November sale and no shipping fees due to the pickup from their shop directly. I was also able to sell the TRD skid plate for $450 on the used market in just a couple of weeks. So the net costs were $517.06 for the upgrade to a front and rear skids and the cat shields. The duration, well, we started around 10:30 a.m. and went till 3 p.m. And that includes the video production time and extra time for the transfer case, which we'll see here in a second. There's an extra hour in there, I'd say, for the video stuff and maybe 30 minutes for the transfer case fix. So all in all, I'd say most folks will have this in about 3 hours from no knowledge whatsoever jumping into it. Is it me or is there something really satisfying about that sound? Once we were finished, we noticed that the transfer case had a shield on it that was still touching the rear skid plate. Not wanting that to be a point of pressure going vertically all the time, we decided to remove that shield on the transfer case that came with the truck. And so this is us removing that extra piece. And there was one bolt that was difficult to get to, and it actually took kind of two of us to get it off. But once we figured it out and got it off, it did slide with some force out from underneath there. And here it is with the plate off successfully and creating a gap. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe as we plan to put out some other upgrade videos. Comment below if you have thoughts on what we should do next, or if you want to see us describe a few of the upgrades we've already done before this. More importantly, please contribute directly via a thank you payment to help fund this and future work. Link below, which is paypal.me/inconsequentialp. I want to close with one last lesson learned a week or so after we did the upgrade. I took the truck to the dealer for its 5K service with Toyota Care and had them change the oil. The day after, I found this in the garage on the floor, which is oil. After checking on this and digging, there was not a leak. It was just dripping from the skid plate, as they likely didn't use a funnel to direct the oil during the change, and some, or a lot, collected on the top side of the front skid plate. I think this can easily be remedied by just using a funnel or wiping down any oil that spills on the plate. There's good access to the drain plug and the filter through an access door from the plate without taking the plate off at all.